Right, ladies and gentlemen, welcome to Drooks Milan Unboxing. Tomorrow night, Thursday night on ESPN Africa on DSTV. We've got a local fight here in South Africa that I'm excited about because it's somebody from my neck of the woods, Lunga, the pressure cooker, Sitemela, who will be challenging for the South African junior lightweight title against Sibusiso Zingange. Now, it's a fight that I would actually have liked to jump on a plane and get myself over there and watch it in person. But as you can hear, I'm nursing a bit of a flu. It's been a rough year. I had a bout of COVID and then what I think now is a bit of flu. So I'm going to be watching it on ESPN Africa from home like the rest of you. And it's a fight that is really make or break for Lunga Sitemela. He's 30 years old, I think 30 or 31 years old, which isn't young for a junior lightweight. He's got a good record, 13 wins, only 1 defeat and 7 knockouts in those 13 wins. But he really needs something big. His career has been sort of stalled by inactivity. And since his last fight, it's been just over a year now. And in his last fight, he suffered his only loss against Muhammad Yakubov in Russia. And in that fight, it was a big step-up fight for him. Yakubov was 16-0. He has had more than a years of inactivity going into that fight. He had a fight with Zingange, which was cancelled at the last minute. And then he ended up fighting Yakubov in Russia. Now, it was a big test for him, and he lost on points. So from that perspective, you can argue that Lunga Sitemela didn't pass the test. But from another perspective, he passed some tests in that loss because it was, as I like to call, a good loss. Because it really tested him. In that fight, Yakubov, a very awkward southpaw. I think that together with the inactivity is what threw Lunga off a little bit. He looked a bit nervous and unsure of himself in the beginning of the fight. But as he normally does, he got better and better as the fight wore on. And we know that if he's hurt, he can handle it, he can take it, and he has the heart to come back because he was hurt at one stage early in the fight, and he came straight back and he rocked Yakubov with a right hand coming back, and Yakubov fell down with a push and so on towards the end of the round. And in the 5th round, Lunga was knocked down twice by Yakubov, but he kept fighting back, and towards the end of the fight, he looked quite a bit better. He was doing okay. He was giving at least as good as he got before he lost on points. So that was a good loss for Lunga Sitemela. It should give him some confidence because I think with Sibusiso Zingange, he's not going to have a style nightmare that he had with Yakubov. I think the fact that Yakubov was a southpaw, it was very awkward. He fought in and out of a weird sort of rhythm and came with quick counters. I think that threw Lunga off a little bit, the southpaw style perhaps, coupled with the inactivity. And with Sibusiso Zingange, he's an orthodox fighter. He's more experienced. He's got a record of 17 wins, 5 losses, 2 draws. In those 17 wins, only 4 knockouts, and not a big puncher. I don't think he has got as much on his shots as that Yakubov had. But he's a good boxer. His record is deceiving. If we look at the paper, Lunga is 13-1 and Zingange is 17-5-2. Yes, Zingange can be beat. But once again, I think there's such a thing as a good loss in boxing. And Zingange has only been stopped twice, and that was by good opponents. One of them, Jeremiah Nakatila, stopped him, and we know Jeremiah Nakatila challenged Shakur Stevenson, and he also recently scored an upset over former WBC world champion Miguel Berchelt. So Jeremiah Nakatila, a quality world-class operator. And he also went and lost to a Russian, just like Lunga, Albert Batergaziev. And Batergaziev is still undefeated. And that's the other guy who stopped him. So, you know, on the world level, Zingange is not quite there. But then some of his other losses, he lost that one in Tanzania to Ibrahim Klaas. He's a guy we know in South Africa. Azinga Fuzile stopped him. And I think the Ibrahim Klaas fight was a lot closer than the scorecards indicated. I think it was a very close fight, and at points Zingange outworked him, and there was a point deducted for who knows what in the middle of that fight. But with Sibusiso Zingange, style-wise, he's a very good boxer. He's got some versatility in him. He can move and box, and as I see on his record and watching some of his fights, he does learn and he does improve from fight to fight. He's fought Prince Ndlovu several times, beat him on points. Every time he looks a bit better. Sane, against him, he had a draw and then he won the rematch. So Zingange can improve. And in his last fight in February this year, he stopped Pela Mponchana for the South African title. As a correction, he outpointed him. He won by a wide margin. It didn't stop him, but he beat him for the South African title. So Pela Mponchana, we know, is a dangerous, strong guy. But he's a guy that you can outwork. That's the one thing you can do with Pela Mponchana, and Zingange outworked and outboxed him. Now, Zingange, he likes to flurry at the end of a round. So that's something that Sitemela should be aware of. He can box with a jab and some movement from the outside, like he did against Ndlovu. But Ndlovu is quite sort of heavy-footed and not a fast kind of guy. I think Zingange is a little bit better when he's on the inside. And another thing that I noticed against Ibrahim Klaas, the things that can get to Zingange are two things. Number one is pressure. If you are stronger than him and you pressure him, and you make him uncomfortable, if he feels your power, he stops fighting on the inside. Otherwise, he fights very well on the inside. And on the outside, if you're taller, you're ranger, you got the quicker hands like Ibrahim Klaas showed, you can catch him with counters with a long shot on the outside. Now, Lunga Sitemela, his strong point, his nickname, the pressure cooker. He's got a very big gas tank. He's always super fit. I know they've had a good camp there with Emil Bryce here in Cape Town. They went up on Monday, I think, to Gauteng. So, Lunga Sitemela's big thing is the pressure. He's a swarming, high-volume pressure fighter. He comes at you and he keeps coming and coming and coming at you. I commentated quite a few of his fights ringside, so I know him firsthand. He's in your face, he's in your grill, and he puts constant pressure on you. What I like about him is his nice punch variety. He goes upstairs, downstairs, doesn't use the same punches all the time. On the downside, he does have I think a good defense in terms of he's got a bit of a shoulder roll and head movement rhythm there going, but he does sometimes get hit like we see against Yakubov, and sometimes when he steps back in a straight line instead of stepping around and going back. And towards the end of a fight there against Yakubov, he usually has his gloves up nice and high in a peekaboo style, but the gloves started coming down, you know. So some of the times he was tagged by Yakubov is when he stepped straight back with the gloves just a bit too low, and he got tagged. And he's got a guard against that, against Sibusiso or Zingange. So to me, there's not very little to choose. Zingange is 29, Lunga is 30. Lunga's height-wise is an inch shorter than Zingange. I don't have reach for the fighters. I don't know who's got the longer reach. I'm thinking physically they're very much sort of on a par. So for Lunga Sitemela to win this fight, he's got to do what he always does. He's not really a box and move kind of guy. He's a pressure kind of guy. He steps towards you and he just keeps throwing punches and he keeps throwing punches and he keeps that constant pressure on you. He's got to do what he always does. He's got to keep that pressure on, but he's got to iron out the little mistakes. He mustn't make mistakes against Zingange. And against Zingange, and sometimes if he's wary of your power, he holds or he just waits on the outside like he did against Sane, and when he goes in, when he sees the counters there or he sees his open spots, then he hits, he picks his shots. So he's got to keep a pressure on Zingange, not to let him get comfortable where he can wait and pick his spots or get into a fighting rhythm, but he's got to do it in a clever way. Yeah, he's got to use his jab. Lunga sometimes leaves the jab for the swarming pressure style, but he's got to jab his way in. He's got to throw the straight punches as he comes in, because I think those tend to catch Zingange. And when he's on the inside, he's got to move Zingange back. Otherwise, they're going to go tit for tat, and it will be what the judges interpret who prove are harder punches. So I think that was a key thing in the fight, where Lunga, he's got a bigger knockout ratio than Zingange's got, but Zingange also is a more seasoned fighter. He fought a wider array of opponents, and he's fought perhaps the higher quality opponents. He definitely did fight the higher quality of opponents, to be honest. It's not a Jeremiah Nakatila on Lunga's resume. So he's got to prevent him, Zingange, from getting into the round. He's got to keep the pressure on, and it will be crucial for him whether he can hurt Zingange. I don't think anybody can knock the other one out, but whether he can make Zingange uncomfortable fighting on the inside. Because Zingange fights well on the inside as well. He hits the body shots and he goes upstairs. Sort of similar than Lunga, but not as wide a variety of punches on the inside. So that's a key to a fight. I think Lunga Sitemela has got to do what he always does, just do it a little better, throw some long shots on the outside, because I think that will work against Zingange, and then do what he usually does on the inside, but don't step straight back. If he can bully Zingange on the inside, make him unsure of himself there, he's got a good chance here. Now, Sibusiso Zingange, it all depends. I don't think it's a good idea to go and stand there on the inside and make it an inside fight with Lunga Sitemela, an exchange of him, because although I think it'll be a terrific fight for the fans, I think Lunga's got a slightly better punch variety in there, and he might get the better of a fight on the inside. Zingange is more guy who fights in spurts there, so I think Zingange has got to disrupt his rhythm. He's got to give him plenty of angles like Yakubov did. He's got to be on his bicycle, jab, quick punches, sidestep Sitemela, and then counter him, because the gaps will be there. Sitemela sometimes throws himself off balance when he misses, and he can be hit. And another thing with Lunga Sitemela is once again the inactivity. It's been less inactivity and leading into the Yakubov fight, but already it's more than a year since he last fought. And that is a big thing that worries me about Lunga Sitemela. How will that inactivity affect him? Then on the other hand, Sibusiso Zingange has been on a nice roll. He's got good momentum. He's had good activity on his side. And he's just coming off his win over Pela and Ponchana, so his confidence will be sky high. And he is the house fighter. So I think this, even if on paper it doesn't look like it, if you look at the records, if you look closer, the odds are sort of stacked in favour of Sibusiso Zingange. Now, we want a South African champion here in Cape Town. We had the heavyweight champion for a short while. That went bye-bye. Maybe we'll have it again in the future. But as a fan, as a supporter, and somebody that knows the Sitemela camp a little bit, I'm rooting for them. I'm hoping they bring it home. Yeah, I've got to say what I think. If I look at the fight closely, I think it's a toss-up fight. Anyone can win. It depends who can force their game on the fight. If Sitemela can jab and straight right his way in, and if he can bully Zingange on the inside a bit and get to the body, if Zingange is a little bit wary of his power, and I don't know if Lunga can do that, then I think Lunga can win the fight. But if Zingange can make him miss, can make him reset, can do a lot of movement, take the pressure, the volume away from Sitemela, and fight in spurts and steal rounds, I think Zingange is a guy to win this. So even though I'm rooting for Sitemela, I think the difference is the momentum here. I think Sibusiso Zingange, he just has the activity. He fought 4 times in 2021. Okay, 2 of those were losses. Still, he's got a lot of ring time, and he's already fought once here in 2022. It's his 2nd time, whereas Lunga's last fight was in February of 2021. And based on that activity and the momentum, seems to slightly favour Sibusiso Zingange. If it wasn't for that, I would go for Lunga Sitemela, but because of that, I think Sibusiso Zingange is going to win a close decision. For Cape Town's sake, I hope I'm wrong, but may the best man win, and I think it's going to be a good fight tomorrow evening, Thursday evening on ESPN Africa and DSTV. And until we see each other again, please give the channel a like and a subscribe, and leave a comment if you have any opinion on what I've just said. And until we see each other again, remember to keep those hands up.